So Liam Rosenior is the new Chelsea manager, but who in this squad is he going to utilise best? Who's he going to keep? Who's going to let go? Who's going to send out on loan? Today, we're going to do a full Chelsea squad assessment under the new head coach. Before we get into the squad, let's touch upon the Liam Rosenior appointment. I want to hear your guys' thoughts straight away. I cannot wait for the comment section here. Do you think Liam Rosenior is the right man for Chelsea? Clearly, one of the reasons that he's coming into the club is that he already works within that Blueco model. The work he's done at Strasbourg has been really impressive, mainly from a developmental side of things. He's improved players exponentially. He's improved Strasbourg's league position as well. Of course, they sit, I think, 8th at the moment in Ligue 1. They are currently playing in the Europa Conference League, so he's done a really good job at Strasbourg. But this is a big jump. I think a lot of his principles, actually at Strasbourg, do translate quite well to Chelsea, and particularly the sporting director model that they are operating with: high press, high intensity, lots of possession. He's very much a head coach rather than a manager. He's worked within the model before. He's very adaptable. He's played a 3 at the back. He's played a 4 at the back. There are a lot of boxes being ticked from a Chelsea sporting director viewpoint. But let's go on to the squad, because there is going to be a lot of question marks asked about how these players fit within a Liam Rosenior system. How does the squad look under him? And let's start in goal, because what we have seen very clearly from Liam Rosenior's Strasbourg is a complete reliance on the goalkeeper being a key member of build-up. At times, he plays as a split-sided centre-back. You know, Mike Penders, who we're going to talk about in here, so far this season has completed more passes than any goalkeeper in Europe's top 5 leagues. He plays so high in possession. When they're building out from the back, he's actually a centre-half. So could Rob Sanchez do that? I don't think he's the most comfortable on the ball. He's not the most uncomfortable either, though. He can be a little bit rash, and I am not totally convinced we'll see him play as high and as comfortably as Mike Penders did at Strasbourg. But it's undeniable he's had a really good 2025. He's improved drastically on what we saw last campaign. His underlying expected goal numbers are really impressive. The second most clean sheets in the Premier League at the time of recording. I think this is a nailed-on stay. As for Jurgensen and Slonina, I think either of these guys could go. It wouldn't be a massive surprise to me. Obviously, both of these were very much project signings, still very young, 23 and 21, but they haven't really got a look in. Jurgensen has in the cup competitions. Slonina, not massively. I wouldn't be surprised if either or neither left. Mike Penders, though, definitely does come back. His experience of playing under Rosenior at Strasbourg, even for a short period of time in this 6 months, is vital. He's extremely highly rated, one of the most highly rated young goalkeepers in world football. Still very young, still very raw, and it is a huge ask for teenagers, 20-year-olds, even, Senna Lomans, who's just come into Manchester United. A huge ask to ask a young keeper like that to don the shirt of a club the scale of a Chelsea or a Manchester United. And Penders is going to be under pressure from the get-go if he's thrown in very young, even if he's worked with Rosenior before, but I think he is going to be given a chance. Reece James is an obvious nailed-on keep, having absolutely stunning season. Very interesting to see how Rosenior utilises him. We haven't seen as much inverted fullback play from Strasbourg as we've seen from Enzo Maresca, for instance, quite often because he's played that 3 at the back system with wing-backs. Those wing-backs have been extremely high and wide. So is that going to happen at Chelsea? Is he going to use Reece James in a wing-back role? I don't think so. I don't think you'll see the back 3 at Chelsea. It will be the 4-3-3 we've seen at times used for Strasbourg. Not as much inverting, not as much use of fullbacks in midfield. So does that mean Reece James just goes back to a classic right-back role? You can ask similar questions about what this means for the Malo Gusto role. He's been utilised at left-back quite often under Enzo Maresca. Cover for when Cucurella isn't there, but he's also been utilised in midfield. He plays extremely high out of possession. At times, he's on the end of crosses like a number 9. Isn't he? You've seen that from Cucurella at the back post too. He's definitely going to be kept though, Gusto. I think he's a really, really good backup to Reece James. Wes Fofana, I also think really solid. I know that he hasn't had his best season, mainly again because of injuries and struggle to get up to full fitness. But we're talking about a player here in the 99th percentile for aerial duels won, a great reader of the game, 99th percentile for interceptions. He's underrated on the ball at times, and the centre-backs in this Rosenior system have to be good on the ball. It's an essential part of how they build up from the back with the goalkeeper as well in that 11v10 sort of system. For me, Fofana is one of the best centre-backs at the club, even though they should and will sign a centre-back in the summer. As for Tosin, the oldest of the bunch, 28 years old, feels like a veteran in this side, and it will be interesting to see if, with Rosenier's arrival, they maintain that policy of extreme youth. You know, Strasbourg last season, the youngest average age of any squad in Europe, the youngest average starting 11 of any squad in Europe. Again, it's all well and good doing that at Strasbourg in Ligue 1 as a developmental coach, but Chelsea is about results and winning, and we think we saw that with Maresca. His desire to get more experienced players in the door eventually led to one of the sticking points as to why he left the club. Having said all that, it wouldn't be a huge surprise, would it, to see Tosin go? I think he came in on that free transfer and has only started 5 Premier League games so far this season. Between him and Chalobah, I see quite a lot of negative reaction online from Chelsea fans. I still think he's a really good defender, and he definitely has a Premier League career, but it's pretty apparent that Chelsea's policy is to sign younger and younger, and I do think a centre-back will arrive in the summer. Badia Shiel as well, only 250 minutes of Premier League football so far this season, and that's with Levi Cole having an ACL injury. He's a left-sided centre-back, probably going to go. I mean, Chelsea fans, I'm interested to hear your take on this centre-back situation. I'm saying players could well end up leaving, but you don't really have an outstanding centre-back to partner Levi Cole that stands out. Maybe that in the future could be Joshua Champong, because he's definitely going to be a keep. I wanted to see him play more minutes at centre-half so far this season. We've seen him quite often utilised at right-back, and I'm aware he's been utilised there in the youth system as well. But I do think his frame, his athleticism, his aerial dominance, the way he gets on the ball, is quite suited to a central defender. Maybe Liam Rosenior, given that he is trusted so much in young players, young centre-halves. Look at what he's done with Malang Sarr so far this season, who's on loan from Chelsea. Maybe he'll go to Joshua Champong and just trust him. Colwill was an obvious keep, best centre-back at the club. Such a shame he's missed the whole season with that ACL problem. Going to miss the World Cup, because I do think if he was fit, Colwill would have been the first name of the centre-back roster every single week. I don't think you can have just 3 central defenders on the books. I know I said they're going to sign at least 1 centre-back in the summer, but I would probably keep Trev Chalobah. I know he splits opinion amongst Chelsea fans, and a lot of people in the Stamford Bridge community will be saying they would rather see him leave than Tosin. They want to see him sold as well. I kind of feel like whenever I watch Chelsea, he's okay. Pretty solid in the air. Don't think the partnership with Tosin necessarily works, and he was at his best last season when he was partnered with Levi Colwill, understandably, but he's been pretty consistent. He's a Chelsea Academy lad, and I really don't think people should be disrespecting him to the level I've seen some fans online do so far this season. I have thrown in a few of the loan moves. I could have had Malang Sarr in here as well. He's worked with Rosenior so far this season. He started 13 games at Strasbourg. Maybe he could come back as a central defender. But I wanted to talk about Aaron Anselmino as well, who's been excellent on loan at Borussia Dortmund. There is a recall clause in January. I wonder if Chelsea are considering recalling Anselmino in January. He's had his injury problems recently, though. Maybe it's unrealistic. Maybe he just goes back out on loan for another season. Could Jarell Hato feature more for Chelsea now that Rosenior has arrived at the club? I think he's struggled a little bit physically so far this season. Hasn't got an awful lot of game time, and when he's played, particularly in the Premier League, he struggled to get up to the speed of it. Just 170 minutes of Premier League football this season, to me, signals that he doesn't necessarily suit the Maresca system, which is that inverted left-back role that Cucurella often operates with. But he wasn't always a left-back at Ajax. In the youth system, he was a centre-back. I know that last campaign, 95% of his minutes did come in that left-back slot. But maybe under Rosenior, again, this could be a bit of a reviving of his Chelsea career, because let's not forget, this is one of the youngest Ajax captains of all time, one of the youngest Ajax Champions League representatives of all time, an excellently highly rated centre-back before he joined Chelsea. People should not be writing him off after 3 months of adaptation. There's a bit of a dearth of left-footed defenders at the club without a player like Hato there. As for Cucurella, he's obviously going to stay. He is the best left-back in the Premier League for me. In every phase of the game, he's excellent, but particularly in 1v1 defending against a lights-out winger, which is one of the reasons I think Chelsea could do really well in the cup competitions, and that is something that Liam Rosenior should be judged on. Even in the Champions League, you know, we've seen them blow teams like Barcelona out of the water under Enzo Maresca. He was excellent as a cup coach, winning the Club World Cup, winning the Conference League. If Chelsea do damage in a cup competition, it can go a long way to buying favour for Rosenior amongst the Chelsea fan base. Caicedo, an absolutely obvious keep. You know, if he can just chill out a little bit disciplinary-wise, we are talking about one of the best midfielders in the world. Dario Esugo, we haven't really seen because of that thigh injury. I don't think he's still injured with the thigh injury. It's a separate injury. Maybe this will be a loan move. They can't have a 19, 20-year-old in every single position, Chelsea. I know they don't have massive depth in the defensive midfield area. Maybe that's something they'll look to recruit behind Caicedo, because Isugo, I mean, even last season he was out on loan. At Sporting, they loaned him to Las Palmas. It's a big ask to expect him to come in and have significant impact on this side under Rosenior. For me, get him some minutes on loan. Romeo Lavia? This is a big 6 months for Romeo Lavia. He's got to get back fit. I'm going to put him in keep right now, but 800 minutes of Premier League football since joining Chelsea in 2023. We're in 2026 now. Obviously, he picked up the injury, the muscle injury against Karabag, which was a shame because when he's fit, there's undeniably one of the best young midfielders in the league there. But we don't see enough of him. We haven't seen enough of him ever since he had that rise to power at Southampton. There was the injury there, arrived with an injury issue, and has been injured ever since, effectively. When he's formed a partnership with Caicedo for like 2 or 3 games, it looks ridiculous. And that is clearly something that was rubbing Enzo Maresca up the wrong way. The battle with the medical department, if you read the Athletic article, if you read the Telegraph article, the fallout with the medical department was a key component as to why he's left the club. Hopefully, Romeo Lavia can get back fit and the medical department and Liam Rosenior will be a bit more simpatico. One of the biggest beneficiaries of the Rosenior arrival, no doubt, Andre Santos. Of course, worked with Rosenior last season, was an absolute beast for Strasbourg in midfield. Rosenior actually played him a little bit more advanced. Last campaign, he was kind of playing as a box-to-box midfielder come number 10. 13 goal contributions in Ligue 1. Saw him win the Ligue 1 Young Player of the Month. I personally think he will get way more minutes under Rosenior than we saw under Maresca. Maresca's use of Gusto and Reece James in midfield, I don't think you'll see as much under Rosenior, and that will allow Andre Santos to get more minutes alongside Caicedo. Enzo Fernandez plays pretty much every single game, and if he isn't fit, they have to give minutes to Santos. This guy's development in Ligue 1 last season was like that under Rosenior. It's flatlined this season, partly because of injury, partly because of opportunity. Rosenior's got the opportunity now to take it to a whole new level. The talent is there. Enzo Fernandez, the most minutes in the squad, as I said earlier, of any outfield player in all competitions. I think the most goal involvements as well. The most goal involvements of any Chelsea player in the entirety of 2025. 23 goal involvements. A real uptick in his effectiveness in and around the box. Definite stay, one of the leadership group. I actually think if the price tag wasn't there, £105 million, Enzo Fernandez's name would be mentioned far more often as to how effective he can be. His partnership with Caicedo, playing a little bit further forward, some of his passing ability, all really, really good, but he is held back by the fact he cost £105 million. Buonanotte, yeah, this is going to be a contract exit, right? I think this is just a loan with no option, no obligation to buy. Chelsea fans, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't really understand it. Don't think he started a Premier League game. 45 minutes of Premier League football. He wasn't included in the Champions League squad originally until Isugo's injury. Cole Palmer, an obvious keep. Some of the disrespect I've seen about him online recently, mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. Still one of the most outstanding young players in Europe. Yes, he's had, I'd say, a pretty poor 2025 by his own standards, but majority of that has been down to injury. And I expect fully 2026 him to bounce back. He's going to be a vital player under Liam Rosenior. In that 4-3-3, he's almost definitely going to be playing as either an advanced 8 or potentially at times off the right-hand side. Esteval, the shining light of the season, really. He's a definite keep. I mean, the fact he hasn't played as much as he should have in these last couple of months has surprised me under Enzo Maresca. I don't really understand his lack of minutes in the Premier League. Yes, I understand the fact that he's 18 years old, you've got to balance his minutes, but there's been times where 3 or 4 games in a row he hasn't started. He's been coming on for the last 10-15 minutes. You know, to be at the halfway point of the season and have just 7 Premier League starts when he's been as good as he's been when he's played is a bit of a surprise. He's creating over 4.5 chances per 90. Pedro Neto, another player that splits Chelsea fans' opinions. I would keep him. He is the second top scorer in the squad so far this season in the Premier League. I constantly see some statistics about his dribbling ability. I think he has the third worst dribble success rate in the Premier League, but he's also completed the most dribbles of any player at Chelsea because he wants to continuously go at players. And for me, that is a big positive for a winger. I like watching wingers that want to just keep going at them, and even if they fail, they're brave enough to take the ball and try and beat their man again. And that is something Pedro Neto does. Garnacho, another player, is going to have to be kept because he was signed in the summer, £45 million. He actually does have the worst dribble success rate of any player in the Premier League. But another reason for that, like I said about Neto, is that he keeps wanting the ball and keeps driving at players. He is a very brave operator. In all competitions, I think he's got 7 goal involvements, which is okay. Just the 1 Premier League goal, and his decision-making in the final third, which was a problem at Manchester United, when to shoot, when to pass, has again at times hindered him at Chelsea. But there has been a bit of a connection, I believe, recently with Enzo. The cutbacks to Enzo, the little pops around the corner to Enzo have been very, very effective in creating chances for Chelsea. How about Jamie Gittins? Well, he was £50 million less than 4 months ago, so we've got to give him time to breathe. I think he struggled for confidence, struggled to get game time, and that might be the case again under Rosenior. What I do find interesting is he's actually played the same amount of minutes as Esteval in all competitions this season, which is, again, goes back to my point of the lack of minutes for Esteval when we've seen his level. No disrespect to Gittins because he has got 5 goal involvements. I don't think he scored a Premier League goal, but, you know, absolutely wonderful strike in the EFL Cup. I do just think there is a lot of wide talent that is a similar age on the books at Chelsea. You really don't have any time to impress. That's my point here. You know, with Kenda arriving, Esteval only getting better. If you're Gittins or Garnacho, you feel so much pressure on your back because you've got to immediately be amazing. You can't have any betting in period because the next guy is about to arrive. Tyreek George, I think, will go. He nearly left in the summer. He nearly joined Fulham. That move collapsed because they ended up going for Chukwueze, and we haven't seen him play at all in the Premier League. He's got minutes in the EFL Cup. I think he's played a couple of Champions League games as well, but at this stage, it feels like his future lies away from the club. I've included Nicholas Jackson in here as well because he's going to go, but we have to talk about the Nicholas Jackson situation. It's driving me mad. They've let Nicholas Jackson go, and I kind of understand there's been a bit of a fallout behind the scenes. You can't really talk about the intangibles. We don't know what was going on in those meetings. But what we do know is this is a player who put up 30 goals across 2 seasons without taking a penalty. He is arguably, of the contracted strikers available to Chelsea, still their best number 9. And he's out on loan. The loan fee was ridiculous, and Bayern are probably never going to pay the permanent fee. But is there a route back for Jackson at some stage under Rosenior? Could Rosenior bring him back in from the cold and utilise him in the number 9? And I don't mean that really negatively about Liam Delap, because I still think there was a really high-level player there too. But his injury problems, his lack of confidence, the fact he hasn't scored a Premier League goal yet and we're in 2026, are all building up a negative picture for the Chelsea fan base, and I'm seeing people online really get onto the back of Liam Delap. He definitely should stay, and he will stay, and I really hope that across the next half of the season under Rosenior he can have a resurgence. This is a manager he's worked with in the past at Hull. Now, it was for a pretty short period of time, but he was playing some really good football at Hull. Not the level he was at Ipswich, but Rosenior was utilising him in a different way. At times he utilised him as a right winger. Are we ever going to see that at Chelsea? I don't think so. At least he knows Rosenior. Rosenior knows how to get the best out of Delap, knows how to communicate really effectively with Delap, and that can only be a positive. It can only be a good thing for a player as low on confidence as he is. Mark Guiu, I would probably send out on loan again. Of course, he joined Sunderland on loan, but then got recalled. He's been utilised occasionally, and I've actually been kind of impressed. Impressed by his physicality in particular. João Pedro has been the best number 9 at the club. He is obviously going to stay. He's the top goal scorer. But I still think he does a lot of his best work as a second striker. His creative numbers are massive. He is so good in between the lines. But he doesn't get a lot of shots off. He's in the bottom 10% of European forwards for shots per 90. He's never been a huge XG guy. Is he a number 9 or is he a second striker? I personally think he's a second striker. And that is where you need a player like Liam Delap to really step up and be the number 9. Or they should have just kept Nicholas Jackson and had João Pedro as a second striker to him. Either way, it's going to be interesting to see what Rosenior does with this group of players. Is he going to play a back 3? Is he going to play a back 4? Let me know your thoughts on the appointment and his formation as well as this squad. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, hit subscribe. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.